Hello and good evening. It's Friday night and it's the end of the week. It's the weekend, and I thought I'd just sign in now. And I think it's about 5:30. And I've got something I think I want to talk about today, and I'm going to try it. And please bear with me. It's a little bit more complicated, and it's something that is dear to my heart, about the human being, the human element, the human behavior, some psychology, but the human element. And since doing this a new project that we're all working on, it's become more apparent about how people are working with their mindsets and belief systems, and struggling to change and make changes. And it's really been going through my mind, and how you can help and how we can help ourselves. And I think I've got a couple of little ideas that I wanted to just talk about, and try and get a little message across that I try to do myself. And I've got a couple of visual, if you'll bear with me, there is a reason to what I'm going to do, but I have a couple of visual assistance pieces here that I wanted to show you, to try and explain. And I've got to be aware that because I'm on camera, I'm trying to do this in one take. I want to get used to doing it in one take. So what I wanted to say was, when we see the world, we see what we believe is real. And depending on our background, our upbringing, and various experiences that we have, and also encouragement and people that we're around, will tend to focus us in one direction, or one small window, or maybe a wider window. But whatever it is we look at, we tend to see what we're given and not maybe stretch it or look at it a different way. And I kind of have a visual thing that might explain that a little bit to you, that I used to do. I used to design and art pieces and stuff, and I was fascinated for years. I wanted to make pieces of art and design from aircraft and engines, and just anything that I just loved the look of the pieces and could see something that people would walk past. So I'm going to show you something. Instead of talking, I'm going to show you something. And so here is it's an old piston, and it's an aircraft piston, which is more to my heart. And it's filthy, disgusting, and it's out of a scrap. It was thrown away, discarded. And who would ever look at that and think, yeah, okay, that's it, it's rubbish. Okay, and here is something completely different. This is a half of an old chain link, and this was on funny enough, this one I bought from the Bournemouth ferry. That doesn't mean anything to people out of England, but it's from the Bournemouth ferry, and it's a big piece of rusty old horrible chain, and it was at the end of its life and would be melted down. So that's just a small example. And then I'm just going to bring the camera around for you with a little bit of looking and trying to do something different. That's what I ended up doing with the piston, and made a nice lamp from it and polished it. There we are, that's better. And then the chain link, made an art piece that you can put in your living room or wherever you want, and it just looks totally different. And in my eyes, I think it's beautiful. I'm not doing this to make you like my idea of art. It's the point is that making is to see, look at things differently, and you'll see different potential and different outlook of what can be done, and what and how we can be led down one avenue. Now, another little trick I want to show you, to find a leverage point in someone's belief systems or habits or thinking patterns, you need that leverage point. And normally to find a leverage point is very, very difficult. We all try to help people and say, you should stop smoking. It's going to kill you. It makes you smell, your breath smells while you are. And how many of us have done that with friends, or stopped drinking, or and nothing happens until you can find that leverage point. And that we all have a leverage point. And the best way to get someone to change is by helping them find that leverage point, not by you hammering them saying, change, you must be faster, you must be bigger, you must be cleaner. They'll just retreat, mostly will retreat. So it has to come from inside. And the point I'm getting to, bear with me, the point I'm trying to get to, and that fascinates me, is if you can find one piece of information that can prove that they are looking at this in the wrong way and there's another way to look at something, or they're being deceived by themselves, then you have a break point where that leverage can sneak in. So I'm going to show you this little thing here. If you do this at home, or when you've got 5 minutes, take a piece of paper, just a little bit of A5 or A4 or whatever, and write on the one side plus and a circle about 5 inches apart and horizontal. And this is to prove that our eyes deceive us and that we see illusions all around us daily. And we don't realize they're illusions because we believe it's what we see is real. And I want you to, and this, if you can see it's proved by a scientific or a medical or physiology that everybody's the same, then instantly it's hard for someone to argue about that. And they can say, wow, there's a light bulb moment. Then maybe I am doing something wrong, or I can do something different. So place your hand over your right eye and look across. So look over to the circle. And then as you move the circle, or move the piece of paper in or out, there'll be a point where the plus disappears. And then do the other side and look at the plus. And then there'll be a point where the circle disappears. Isn't that fantastic? It's also a shock because we all do it. We all have this blind spot in both of our eyes. And what's happening is our brains are filling in the difference. They're filling in the blank. And so we're seeing an illusion. You see what I did there? Is this all right? Is this working? Because I'm kind of thinking I should shut up here. The illusion comes from our physiology, but our brain makes us see what we think we should be seeing. And there's even better one. If you want to look on YouTube, there's one where this circle is in red. And there's a load of circles, red circles. And it actually, the white circle is in the middle, and your brain replaces it with a red circle. So my point is there, and I'll try and wind that up now, if your body, not your belief systems, just your body alone, is telling you something that isn't real, then are you looking at other things that aren't quite real? And are you making decisions and judgments about yourself and the world around you that might just be off kilter and slightly off balance and can be changed or could be different to the way that you perceive them? A good example, and I'll kind of finish on a good example, is Roger Bannister in 56, I think it was, don't quote me on it, I think it was 1956. He broke the 4-minute mile, and he's British, it's great, but that really doesn't matter whether it's British, Chinese or whatever. The fact is that it would be in such a long-held milestone to break this 4-minute barrier, and they thought they couldn't do it. It couldn't be done. And hundreds were trying. And the belief system of all these athletes was, it can't be done. And then Mr. Bannister broke it. And did you know that I think it was within that next year, 35 more people broke that 1-minute mile barrier, which is fantastic. And that's kind of my point I'm getting at. And it's a connection with belief systems and the mindset that you're in, and demonstration of the physical element. that we can, and the brain that can restrict us. And there's another little thing that I was thinking today, and it's trying to see. There's a lovely saying that I try to like, and it says, if you look at the world differently, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Isn't that cool? And it's a bit like what I've just looked at here, this piece of old scrap and rubbish. If you look at it differently, it becomes treasure. And believe me, I've sold a lot of this stuff, and it's made me a reasonable living. And so just by looking in a different direction, and looking at things that people don't normally see, it gives you a breakage point. Now, the last thing I'm going to finish on, and maybe I ought to save this, maybe this is too much, I'm sure someone will feed me back, but another point which kind of connects in all this is we're bombarded by fantastic, well-meaning things on the internet and in books, and to encourage us, and speeches. I did one the other night, and motivational videos and stuff. And if there's a point where some of these things are brilliant and they're fantastic tools, but if they're outside of yourself, you look at it and sort of think, that's great. And then it goes out of the short-term memory and it's gone. And one of the ones that I always listened to and always kind of pondered about, and I think everybody's heard of it, and it's a scientifically proven thing, or I would say it's proven, that the human being, that we as human beings only use 10% of our capability. Now, to me, that needs rethinking and repositioning and looked at differently, because I'll explain. Based on what I've just said, if someone was telling you that you only use 10% of your capacity, how do you know? How do you know what 10% is? And how do you know that I need to do I've got room for another 90% improvement on my thinking, or my achievements, or my goals, or my physical ability, or how much I am a better father or better businessman, or anything? And I kind of got to thinking about this, if I look at things differently. And I thought, would it have more of a leverage point, like I just mentioned earlier, to people to give them an internal start, if you looked at it as saying, not that we only use 10%, but we lack, or we don't use 90% of our ability. So we can then take a point from where we are at what we're achieving, and know that we're only just starting and we've got another 90% to go, as opposed to because none of us are at 100%, or very few of us. If we're all working at 100% and you take the 90 away, then suddenly you can understand the relativeness of 10%. But God, is this? Oh, I should have left this, I think. But I'm finishing it. I'm going to do it. I'll read it back, and the 10% means nothing. No matter how hard you're trying, 10% means nothing. If someone shows you that there is another 90% to go, potentially 90% to go, from the best efforts you're already doing, now that's a leverage point. Now that wakes me up, and that makes me think, wow, I'm doing my best here, but I'm not even starting. And I like that way of looking at the world. So that's enough, I think. I'm going to finish on that, and I hope it wasn't so boring, and I won't do another one if it's, I guess I've said it all in one film here. But to finish off on a Friday evening, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, which changes your belief systems and improves your leverage point within yourself to realize your potential. I made that all by myself. I haven't written it down. Didn't I do well? Enjoy. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.